Holy double championship weekend. This is Flight Check Season 4, Episode 9. We're back. One series away from LCS champions. And once again, we will be talking all aspects of FlyQuest tonight on Flight Check. My name, as always, is Sandy Toes, and to my left and my extra left are my fellow hosts, Noxwar and Curly Double Q. Gentlemen, the faithful were rewarded this weekend, and by faithful...
That's just Curly.
By
just
faithful,
straight Curly.
I have to admit,
It's all me, baby. It's all me.
It was only Curly. The lone
I never
faithful,
doubted for a second.
the only
For
faithful
a
member,
second.
of the entire broadcast.
All Curly.
All Curly. My full apologies for doubting.
I
Look,
know I'm not the only Fly Faithful fan out there. I'm just the
yes.
only faithful podcast member.
Look, I mean, here's what I've learned. What I've learned is we're probably playing Team Liquid in the finals on Sunday. That's what I've learned. Is that Cloud9 are in fact not back. And TL continues to look really good.
You're telling me that 3-0ing a team that is primarily rookies being carried by their jungler who's making their mid look really, really good. Not saying he isn't, but making him look really, really good. You're saying that 3-0ing that team in their first ever best of 5 doesn't mean they're back. Shocker.
That's a wild take, but I'm here for it. I really am here for it. Nox, let's ignore the games. Let's just talk about general sentiment right now. The feelings are good. The vibes are here.
Oh yeah, we're immaculate right now.
I've got a take that I'll say it in a second, but I want to hear from both of you, starting with you, Nox. How are we feeling? What's the general vibe? What's our consensus? How are you guys feeling right now?
I would just everyone's ecstatic, right? Like we beat Cloud9. This is, and I've talked about this in our Discord before, the worst matchup for us in franchise history. We have after this weekend. This is just bad. It's just a rough stat, no matter what. But after this weekend, we are now 15-36 versus them. It was 12-36. It's now 15-36.
Right.
But hey, at the end of the day, we went 3-0 versus them, and that's what we should be looking at. That's awesome. That's great. We're in the finals for the first time since 2020. It's been a long 4 years, gentlemen, but we're finally back. We're going to an international tournament again. FlyQuest gets to rep NA on the international stage. It's just freaking awesome. It's great. Yeah. So no, I'm hyped. I'm hoping everyone else is hyped. It's awesome. That's all I have to say about the series.
I'm very, very, very excited. Curly, as the lone member of Flight Check who will be representing the show at finals this weekend in person, how excited are you to see this team on this upcoming blessed Easter Sunday?
Dude, I am just looking forward to it because I've enjoyed every single event we've been to and that I've been to myself. It's always been a great time. But this is the first time I'll get to see the team I really love play. And it's going to be in the finals for the title. Not even, all right, can we make it to the finals? We are there. There is one option, it is either we get the trophy or we get second place. And I really think we're getting that trophy. And it's just, this moment is kind of why I was I need to go to the studios because I'll be damned if I'm not in the arena when we win our first org title in LCS. It's just everything is coming together. I'm super excited. I'm making plans for the day of everything in my free time. It's just going to be a magical weekend. It's going to be a whirlwind. And then I'm going to come back and I'm also going to be watching NACL finals for as long as I can because my flight is really late Monday. So I was like, F it. I'm just going to go to the studio and watch FlyQuest twice.
There you go.
So it's just going to be an amazing, amazing weekend.
The timing could not be more perfect. Yeah. It's going to be a great weekend. We've got LCS to talk about. We've got NACL to discuss. It's going to be all League of Legends tonight, all night. And don't forget, Bwipo is going to be on Hotline League tonight. So I think the show will probably wrap up just as that show is getting going. So
we can rate them. We can get a shout out from Travis.
We'll send you guys right on over to Hotline League after the show. So stick around until the end so you can join Bwipo and just continue the party. Continue the celebration. Hey, before we hit the FLYC 9 matchup, I think we do need to do our due diligence and talk about the other matchup that did occur this weekend. So let's go around the league a little bit. And by around the league, I literally mean the one other series that happened.
Around the league of the other quarter of the teams.
Look, the other 25% of the league did play this weekend. On Friday, Team Liquid taking down 100 Thieves in a 3-1, I believe.
I did get that prediction perfect, by the way.
I also was very happy on Friday. I'm like exclaiming to my wife, I'm like, I got the whole prediction correct. I called it. TL 3-1 over 100 Thieves. Only to get absolutely rammed on the following series, unfortunately. But I did nail one of them, and I was happy about that. This one was interesting. I don't know how much you guys got to watch. I watched this while playing some League of my own, actually. But felt like TL was generally in control for most of the series. And I think that they're going to be a pretty scary opponent for a Cloud9 team that did not look very back against us and has really only shown themselves up against the team that Team Liquid beat. And I mean, Team Liquid now has played 3 playoff series. They lost to us in a close one. They curb stomped Dig, and then they pretty handily beat 100 Thieves. So, any thoughts on this TL 100 Thieves matchup, especially in light of them playing Cloud9, on Saturday?
I'm not sure who's going to win this, actually. Because, I mean, so don't get me wrong. We rolled Cloud9 in our match, right? But part of me still, I think a lot of it was just, we had a great freaking read on them, and we stepped up on the day, right? And, I'm giving more credit to us than the, Cloud9 collapsing. Like, you were saying earlier, Sandy, that you don't think Cloud9's back. I'm not 100% on that yet, but I think we are up to the challenge of whoever steps up to the plate on Sunday, right? So, coming into Team Liquid, because that team looks scary, man. Jan and Core JJ have stepped it up a lot. I think Umti has been performing a lot better as well. I don't know, man. I think the question really comes down to, can JoJo stomp APA hard enough? Because let's be honest, he will win that matchup no matter what. 3 games, 5 games, doesn't matter. He will win that matchup. But can he win hard enough to get Cloud9 the victories that they need over Team Liquid? Because I'm not so certain about the rest of that Cloud9 team, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I could agree with you that maybe Cloud9 isn't back, but is not back.
On.
How many knots we sticking in?
Yeah. They are not back, but I wouldn't say that they're back, by any means.
Right.
It's probably somewhere more in the middle.
They're stuck in traffic.
Yeah, sure. It's not Jover for them, but they might. The rumors of their being back are greatly exaggerated, in my opinion.
Esports phrases are getting out of hand, bro.
it's getting wild.
We need a reset.
Yeah. Curly, thoughts on the TL 100 Thieves matchup, especially in light of TL playing Cloud9 on Saturday?
I mean, my biggest commitment is that good old Yappa really actually showed up and was able to back up all his shit talking. So, I commend him for his showing against Quid and 100 Thieves. And if he can keep that up against C9, I don't think that lane is as much of a rollover as Nox thinks it is. And then especially we did a phenomenal job of shutting JoJo out. Like it seemed part of our core game plan. So if TL approach it the same way, like if Umti just like gets Appa like those early leads, gets those collapses on JoJo like we did, and prevents him from being a thing, like that is, I consider him a linchpin for C9, because even when you had a 5-0 Berserker like early in the game in the third one on his, trademark Zeri, somehow the consistent bullying of JoJo was a huge part of our ability to like gain and maintain leads and like ignore the Zeri's problems. So it's like that mid lane I think is actually one of the most crucial mashups for this entire series. And then the other thing is Jan is playing out of his goddamn mind. Like this, he has been way more present to me than Berserker in these playoffs. So I think that bottom lane might actually be leaning TL's way.
I don't know what happened to Berserker this year. He
like, got NA boomed.
In the words of Whippo, he's not him.
Yeah, I don't know. And there's now that I've got like two things I want to say here. So like I'll just respond to the Berserker thing real quick. I don't think he's like having a bad split. Like I don't think he's playing bad.
He's no longer S tier.
Yeah. I mean, but who would you put up there, right?
No, I mean, no one. But in the past years, he was S tier.
So are you saying he's just like he's A tier along with other people? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's on the same level as other players in the league now. Whereas before, I would say he was like alone at the top.
I can hear that. I think he's still like in the right situations is probably still the best AD or
probably
laner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Arkham in the chat actually makes a great point. Berserker in other splits was just the best player in the league. Yeah. If not best player, like top 2 or 3, right? Like maybe alongside like Blabber in previous splits, right? Yeah, and maybe you could argue that Berserker is not a top 3 player in LCS right now. I still think he's really, really good. The other person that I want to really particularly talk about, and it's interesting because I was catching back up on last week's dive. So before the series this past weekend happened, I was finishing it up today. And they talked about Jan a fair amount. And they talked about how if they were doing like a playoffs MVP, Jan would be the guy.
I'd 100% agree with that.
And I am in firm agreement that Jan has been on another level. And that, for me, might be what like tips the scales over tips the scales for Team Liquid over Cloud9. I will be interested, and we can talk about this later as well. There's other aspects of TL that I'm not sure measure up to Cloud9 just on paper. But we'll see what that's like. As it is, I don't think, maybe a few weeks ago I would have been like Cloud9 3-0, 3-1 over TL. Right now, I'm not so sure. So let's table that discussion because that'll be a good one for later in the show. And let's move on over to what we're all here for. Fly over Cloud9 in a resounding 3-0. And the way, when I was thinking about how to like characterize these games, it feels to me, and correct me if you feel differently, all 3 of them fit in that category of like close until they weren't. At least that's how it felt to me. Like I was on the edge of my seat, and then all of a sudden for like every game, and then we would like break it open and everything would be bright and sunshine again. I don't know, that was my impression of this series. Curly, how about you? What was your general impression of this series overall before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty on it?
I can definitely see the close until it was open, and then like actually there were a couple games where at the start I was like, oh no, I'm actually a little bit scared for us. In like the early game, but then we were able to make it close, and then we were able to flip it, and then it's all us. Like a consistent thing was there was always a point where we're just running away with it. Like I'm very happy that it was never flip floppy, where it was like, all right, now C9's winning, all right, now FlyQuest winning, blah blah, flop flop flop. It was like, even if C9 start winning, we were able to get it and like pull it back, and like now it's all us. So we just like were locked in that whole series, you know, making really good plays all around.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there were definitely some series where I was like, "Ooh, oh boy." Knox, how about you? What were your general impressions of things?
I think I'm pretty much on the same page as you guys. I will say, I think game 2, we pretty much got the lead early on, and we just held it from there on. Because I think we closed that game out in 26 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that was the one game where we truly, like, we got a lead, and we just held on to it, and we just closed it out. It was just... that game was like, oh, we're very, very serious right now.
Yeah.
Like, we are going... Like, at that point, I was like, okay, we may drop a game at this point, but we are winning the series. And so game 3 started, and Cloud9 had that huge, like, 7-1 in kills early on. I was like, all right, this is the one game. But it was like, next game, like, if Cloud9 closes this out, it doesn't matter. FlyQuest is far and away the better team right now. But even then, the guys still came back. Mental of Steel said, it don't matter, Cloud9. We're closing this series out right now. We're punching our ticket to China. It's happening.
Right.
And, yeah, that's all I have. That's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, I don't know how else to describe this series other than like, maybe vindicating is a great word, because I think everyone was like, yeah, FlyQuest is good, but they're no, you know, if Cloud9's in form, you know, Cloud9 will beat them, or, you know, like, again, like I was listening to the dive today and they were like, oh, you can't discount Cloud9. Like, if they're back, then, you know, you got to take them. And, you know, and they did have it like in like some 3-2s, right? Or a 3-1 as well. So retrospectively, that was like funny to listen to, like how wrong you were. I think it's going to be Azale and Meteos eating lemons if Cloud9 does not win the split, which will be very fun to watch. I will enjoy that immensely. But yeah, I think this was a statement victory, and I'll be very interested to see what we look like on Sunday, and hopefully upper bracket winner is not the curse that you know, it has been for other teams in the past. Let's dive into the games, though. Let's start with game 1. 36-minute game. Jensen, by the way, I mean, I just have to say, Jensen, player of the series.
Yeah.
For sure.
Deathless.
Did not die once.
What a weird moment, though, when he gets player of the series, and then Bwipo gets player of the week.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Jao was trying to explain that in the post-series, like...
Poor Leo.
And I don't think he explained it well. I'm assuming what happened was... Okay, so easily, yeah, you vote for Jensen player of the series. But then, like, because there's also the 100 Thieves TL series, if you're splitting the votes for first between Jan and, like, Jensen so much, does, like... And then, like, if everyone's saying, like, Jan 1 and then Bwipo 2, or, like, Jensen 1 and Bwipo 2, does that just, like, give Bwipo enough second-place votes that he winds up taking first place for player of the week? Like, is that how it ended up working?
I guess it had to have been, like, a weird voting thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
all I know is poor Leo, the stats guy, got put on blast by people in the Discord, because like he was forced into a weird tiebreaker situation, so they had to look at the stats. So yeah,
that was funny. But I mean, let's just start with Jensen. TL Azir still global banned, by the way.
Dude, thank God, it has made these games so much more enjoyable to watch. That's all I'll say on it.
For real. TL bans out the Orianna. Jensen back on the Hui, and he has been absolutely killer on his channel for weeks now. And you know, I keep referencing last week's dive, but they were like, yeah, the Azir global ban, and then the Orianna, and then you just go down the ladder. I'm like, should we just be considering Quay like up there in his echelon of like good champs that like he can
I think
Yes.
you have to. Yes,
Absolutely.
like, and it's crazy because now then you see game 3 later, right? And like then he does fairly well on the Orianna. Like is maybe you start banning. Do you have to ban the Hui as well because it's like seems pretty viable in the meta right now.
Oh yeah.
But things looked good. If I'm correct, this was the one where game 1 bot lane got 2v2 killed straight away.
Yes.
Yes.
So not a good again the bottom lane really struggling in these early moments. Managed to turn it around. Anything standing out in this draft or from the game for you guys for game 1 specifically?
I don't think there's anything. The Lee Sin actually is probably the most interesting thing for me because the way Inspired has been playing throughout the regular season,
Yeah.
Lee Sin does not seem like a champ that he would want to utilize for his current play style. But he utilizes it fairly well here, right? He's actually pushing his lanes forward. He's actually taking things like grubs. This was a series where there was actually a little bit of grub focus. Whereas if you check Oracle's Elixir, like FlyQuest is far heavier focus on Drakes than they are grubs. This series was actually somewhat the inverse, where there was more of a focus on grubs. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and that must have been like a certain strategy call that FlyQuest made in terms of their prep coming into this weekend. But that was kind of the main big surprise for me in terms of like FlyQuest drafting, and I think it paid off. I think it looked solid.
See, something I really liked here was putting the Karma support for one, because I've talked plenty about how I wasn't a fan of the Karma mid, despite the results of the second one, where I am a fan of the Karma mid.
It's a good flex.
It is a good flex, but then specifically when you do fasting Senna, especially now that like with the current patch, that's the only way you should be playing Senna. Having a ranged champion for that is actually very beneficial, because like it's a lot safer to farm up, and you can potentially get way more stacks out of it.
Yeah.
And then just like because of Karma's kit, she's just. Nox and I got very familiar with how OP Karma is right now in our alien clash on Saturday night, and so like just having all that buffs on like buffing on the on your team is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the I liked the Lee Sin pulling that out. I thought he was very. I would not say Inspired was like particularly impactful in the series. In terms of like, oh, he's ganking every lane, he's showing up all over the place, he's spinning Blabber around, on his head. But he had some really key Lee Sin ultis. I recall early in game 1, I think we had gone down like 3 or 4 kills. We hadn't gotten a single one. And he had an awesome sequence where he gets behind the enemy mid turret and ultis the Talia straight into Jensen and maybe Busio, I think it was, to get Jensen going with a kill. And it's just like stuff like that I think really stood out to me from Inspired, not only in game 1, but in game 3 as well in this Lee Sin. I want to ask about, and maybe this is more of like an overall question, because Masu and Busio, like Masu in particular, I will say, like his stat line looks good, like 4-3-12, 5-1-5, and then 9-1-3 on the Senna, Varus, and Kaisa respectively. It didn't feel like he didn't have any like big highlight moments. Like it never felt like he was the carry. Like it never felt like he was like really like standing out as like the sole guy. Does that ring true for you guys? Like, does it feel like he was just kind of like pumping out damage and just he was like kind of there in the team fights doing his thing, like, but never like, And I'm not saying that to like shit on this guy or anything. Not at all. Like he was doing his job and like doing it well. But like, is there any part of it where it's like, okay, he didn't like really stand out?
No, I'd agree with that. The way I've defined Masu and Busio this playoffs is post lane phase, because lane phase is a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Post lane phase, they've been 100% reliable.
Okay.
And you know what? And that's fine. When you have 3 veterans and Jensen, Inspired, and Whippo who are doing like a crap tons of carrying in the top side of the map and everywhere else, sometimes that's all you need, right? You just need to be the guy who puts out some damage and cleans things up, and if that's all you have to do, and that's what gives the team success, perfect. Continue to do that. Their laning phase, however, has been a little lacking, is how I will put it. And hopefully the two of them can continue to shore it up and practice and hopefully like lock it down a little bit more in the coming series.
Yeah, Curly, what about you?
For me, it's like, I think it's just hard to stand out because when you look at these stats, like the fact that he had 100% kill participation on the Varus in the second match, like an ADC being able to have 100% kill participation, I think is rather impressive because that means, all of the action was around you because ADCs don't really roam as much as other lanes do. They switch when it's their turn, but they're not roaming much. But then it's like, I think it's just our team fighting is so well done, especially in this series.
Yeah.
That like when we're on it, it's like, it's not that, oh my gosh, Masu is standing out on above everyone else, making sure he's the one winning. It's like he's doing amazing things, but everything supporting that is so good. It's kind of like the level is all here and he's just a little bit here. So we don't think it's like as outstanding as it is, but I think it's really impressive because another thing that wasn't really mentioned like as much is in, I think it was the game-ending fight of Game 3. So I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the fact that he was able to chase down Olaf on his own to get that triple, like no one followed him.
Yeah.
He was just chasing Fudge. So like he's having these standout moments. It's just everything else we're doing is happening at the same time or like on another level right now that it's like not being mentioned. So I think it's like he's being drowned out by some of the other really good things we had from the series,
By the way, did you guys realize that was an unofficial penta at the end of that game?
No, I did not catch it. I know he got the quadra, but yeah.
Or maybe it was a different game, but I remember he got the triple, and then it was just long enough period of time where it reset
to reset the timer.
And then he got the double kill, and so it was like, oh, he technically got a penta. Off of that.
Yeah.
That was on the Kaisa.
Yeah, that is pretty good. Yeah. So I think what I was encouraged by in game 1 specifically, like, yes, this game goes a little long. It goes 36 minutes, but we were definitively down by like 2K gold for much of the game up until that mid-game team fight where we cleaned them up. And I just felt like Bwipo played really well in some of these team fights. In particular, there was one where he like gets in there and like just the angle is really clean to get a stun. I think it was on JoJo, and like Bwipo's Renekton was just a huge problem for JoJo the entire time.
Oh yeah.
There was the one sequence where he like waits in the bush for the Weaver's Wall, I think it was.
And he knocks JoJo out of it.
Yeah, like just some really smart play. And you could just tell, I don't know how you guys felt about this. It really felt like it was just an outthinking of Cloud9, just from Bwipo and the team at large, but like just like an outthinking of them in game. And that's like something that you can't just like do automatically, right? That like takes years and years of experience. Did you guys like pick up on this at all? Just like an outthinking of Cloud9?
I mean, yeah. So, kind of going back to Inspired a little bit, right? We were talking about how like Inspired was just solid. He was okay this match.
Yeah.
Remember how in the Team Liquid match, and I'm sure you can go back, you can pull the VODs on it. I was saying I was not a fan of how Inspired was playing, right? Part of this is because we allowed Team Liquid to play the style that they wanted to play. Come to this week, we came in and FlyQuest and Inspired dictated how we wanted to play.
Yeah.
And I think that really, really enabled Whippo and Inspired to do the things that they really, really wanted to do around the map, set up how they wanted to set up, look for the angles that they wanted to look for, so on and so forth. And it really, really showed against Cloud9, I think.
Yeah, Curly, what about you?
Yeah, no, I like I said earlier, I think we were just really locked in this entire series. Like brain like just it kind of felt at moments like I was watching a well-oiled machine, you know? And that's exactly what I want to see from FlyQuest.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to game 2. So this one felt, I will say, of all the games, felt probably the most dominant.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, we rolled this one.
Yeah, 26 minutes. let me pull up the exact sequence of picks and bans because I think it's crucial here.
I've got it up here. Was there something you want me to call out, or?
So I just find it so interesting. So we lock down. So we take the Varus first, and this is after the Callista had been banned. And by the way, Cloud9 after that Hui performance bans it in game 2, and the Oriana. All told, you've got an Ari ban, Oriana ban, Nico ban, and a Hui ban. So you've got like 4 mid lane bans in this game 2, which is really, really interesting to me. But it starts out Varus. They take their bot lane of Senna Not. And then we counter with the Karma and the Renata. And then Jojo goes with the Yone. It was not impressive to me, the Yone. And I will also say, in the moment when I saw the Karma come out, I went, oh no, not the Karma pick. And I was not happy with this one. But it winds up, like, doing decently. And I remember, like, seeing some of these, like, mantra cues that Jensen was laying out. And he was just, like, blowing up health bars. It looked a lot better than I was expecting it to. Blippo also on the Gragas had some really key ultis.
Goodness.
Yeah, I thought this was just really clean all around. Curly, I mean, your thoughts on this comp? I mean, you've got a solid mix of like AP, AD, some great engage, and some good peel. Like this is just a clean comp overall.
This to me is like the freaking like juggle. If you like get hit by one thing, you're never gonna move comp because like, all right, you can get Gragas Eid and then also his ult to displace you, and then Inspired can knock you up and then also isolate you, and then Jensen can root or slow you, and Varus can root you, and Renata can root and pull you and then turn you against each other. It's like a CC nightmare going on, and it showed in our team fights. You know, because like we were quite literally just juggling C9 around and all that, and so I think it was a very, very good comp that makes it very frustrating to play the game, especially like if you are, like the Yone is actually probably one of the worst things they could do against this comp because he needs to go in to do his job, which means you need to risk that infinite CC chain that is so frustrating, you know? And so unless Vulcan can like dive in on the Nautilus and soak all that up for you, you're never going to be able to do anything. So yeah, I think we just Mega Mind drafted there.
Yeah.
I honestly, Curly took my point 100%. I don't have anything else to add to that. Just the Yone is so rough for Cloud9 to play, and then the Gragas and the Xin Zhao just makes it even harder. So
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, things looked really good in this. Senna was never really able to get online. JoJo's did not seem impactful. I mean, you just look at like the gold differential across the board, and like Jensen's 2K up on JoJo by the end of the game. Masu, like I know there's the whole like, yeah, it's fasting Senna, right? But like Masu's straight up like almost 5K up on Berserker by the end of the game. Um
That's a
and
lot.
yeah, that is a lot. And like yes, it's fasting Senna, right? So he's not CSing, but um yeah, just crazy stuff. Um yeah, this game felt clean. So let's head over to game 3, which kind of goes back to the like, okay, it is a little closer, but we managed to, start dominating by the end. And they finally let the Oriana through. They wind up not banning any. Cloud9 actually really changes up their bans because they maintain the Callista ban. And after game 1, Cloud9 also banned the Renekton, which is really interesting to me because Fudge is such a notorious Renekton player, right? And, unless they're like really worried about us taking Renekton on B1, that's just a very interesting choice for a ban. But they wind up banning 3 ADs, Callista, Varus, and Senna. And that's why we end up getting this like Kaisa Zeri matchup, which is very interesting. And yeah, the Vi and the Renekton. And the Vi is a weird ban because it's like Inspire didn't play it all series. Like Blabber played it game 1, and then it wasn't even banned game 2. So I don't know. I mean, do you guys have any thoughts on what like Cloud9 was trying to do here? Because it's like no Jensen bans after he just kind of like turbo smurfed you in games 1 and 2, and then you like let him take the Oriana, which is like one of his best champs. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
For me, it just screams like, okay, Masu and Busio have not been doing well in lane this whole series, right? Like game 2, like wasn't a huge deal. Game 1, Cloud9 one-handedly, right, in terms of lane phase. And so I think coming into this draft, it's like, okay, something's got to change up. We're not winning. We're down 2 games. Like this is the match point. Let's just hammer the hell out of the bot lane, right? If we hammer the hell out of the bot lane, we get Berserker ahead. It's Berserker, right? He's clearly gonna like show up. We'll stick him on Zeri, like one of the best champs he has, and then hopefully he should just be able to carry from there, right? That's kind of my thought process, because and don't get me wrong, Jensen's been an absolute menace throughout the series, but Jensen has still like just been holding his own in lane, and has not been really pushing the game forward until the mid game, right? So Cloud9's thought process here, in my opinion, is just slam the bot lane so hard that it's like irrecoverable for FlyQuest, which practically almost happened, right? Up until Cloud9 started fumbling the mid game. So that's kind of my thought process.
Yeah, Curly, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely because, especially like with game 2 being the stomp it was, like the fact that Berserker was never able to actually do really anything on Senna, they're like, all right, like we lost game 1, but we had a chance for a while and Berserker was allowed to do something.
Right.
We need to be able to get Berserker to do something. So let's like just shut Masu out as much as we can so that we like have at least a sign of life to build off of.
Yeah. No, I like it. That's a good thought for sure. Get Berserker ahead. I mean, they go back to the Yone for JoJo. It's not like, we had only banned the Ahri and the Nico, so it's not like there were a bunch of mid lane bans.
I'd argue the Tristana ban is also more of a JoJo ban than a Berserker ban.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I didn't think about that. But I think there's still a lot of champs for him to play. Like the Talia is there. Maybe he doesn't play Hui. Maybe he's like wanting a carry champ. I'll tell you what champ for them felt incredibly not impactful. Blabber's Maokai. Really did not do a lot in this game for me. And I know it just sounds like I'm picking on Cloud9, but like what I'm trying to do is show like, hey, here's like how we just like succeeded and like out drafted really is like I just don't think like the Vi was banned, sure, but that's the only jungle ban. Like, there's still the Xin Zhao, there's still the Sejuani. I'm trying to think what else. Like, I'm looking at what else got played. There's the Rel, there's the Volibear, Jarvan, freaking Umti played Jax jungle on Friday. River played Talia jungle. Like, there's a lot of options out there, and there's Poppy jungle. Like, there's so many options for him to play, and I just feel like the Maokai was just not impactful at all. What did you guys think?
Starting to wonder if... Oh, sorry, go for it, Curly.
I mean, like, it's funny because if you look at the scorelines for Inspired and Blabber, they both went 0-4. But, like, Inspired felt like he was doing things the whole game. Blabber, I personally, like, cannot recall any, like, major moments where he had anything that turned team fight Cloud9's way, you know? So, like, yeah, I just... putting Blabber on Maokai, I just don't think was a choice here. I think a Poppy would have been very good for him because I think he's had some good showings on Poppy. Don't quite know how that fits with the rest of the comp per se, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think my general thoughts right now is I'm starting to wonder if Maokai as a champion is starting to fall out of the meta a little bit, or at least in the style of play and how LCS is currently playing. I feel like the tempo for it and like the setups to be able to do what they want to do with this champion is just not what it used to be, at least earlier on in the split, right? So that's what I'm wondering. I'm not 100% sold on that take, and maybe you guys can sway me one way or the other.
I mean, I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Curly, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, we've just kind of seen some other junglers be more dominant, and then it's like, I think the way that games are being played right now, Maokai isn't... The way I've seen Maokai be successful isn't the way I've seen him play lately, because the way LCS is playing, it's different. So effectively, yeah, he's fallen out of meta, you know? Because for me, some of the big, like, Maokai things are you land, like, a hidden ult that, like, traps a team into a terrible team fight that they don't want to do, and it's like, there's... for me, a lot more map awareness going around the league right now, especially with these last three teams. Like, they are making sure they have vision all the time. And so it's like, you can't really get those surprise over the wall ults anymore, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. Yeah, I just feel like there were other more impactful things for him to play. Yeah, Jensen looked real good on the Orianna. All right, I've got a question for you guys for a series overall. Clearly, Jensen, like, player of the series for FlyQuest, we can say that. I want to know who you guys have as your second, as your number 2 player of the series for FlyQuest.
It's real tough.
I think it's going to Bwippo for me personally. I think the Gragas flanks and the Gragas ultimates and his ability to displace C9 into terrible positions, just unrivaled, right? I think Bwippo for me was the second best player on FlyQuest.
All right, interesting. How about you, Curly?
It's a tie for me between Bwippo and Inspired, because Inspired, I think, was doing the ultimate, like, they were both doing a phenomenal job of what I consider disrupting when it came to team fights, like making it so that Cloud9 like couldn't get together, or like isolating the squishy carries, like whatever it was, they were where they needed to be. Especially like with Inspired specifically, like he was going out of his mind, I think, with some of his like setups for those kicks in game 3. Like the amount of times he was able to just patiently wait out, get the Q onto Berserker and like knock him straight into our clutches. Like, it was ridiculous, you know? But then at the same time, Bwippo's doing the same thing with the Gragas, with like the E's, the barrels, the, you know, just being a damage sponge, all of that.
Right. Yeah,
so no, it's a tie for me.
I think it's fair. I want to offer possibly Busio as the number 2.
Okay.
I'll quickly go over some KDAs, and I know KDA isn't everything, but 4-2-12 on Karma, 0-9 on Renata, and 0-3-15 on the Nautilus. Basically, 1 off of 100% kill participation in every game. So 16 out of 17 game 1, 9 out of 10 game 2, and then 15 out of 16 game 3. So he was part of everything. He had that crazy knot hook in game 3 that was definitely broken. But I really challenge you guys, go back and watch some of his Renata ultis in game 2 that were very, very key to either setting up some peel and disengage or allowing sieges to continue on. I really would make the argument that Busio stepped up in a huge way throughout this entire series. I thought he played really, really phenomenally all series, and he would be my number 2 guy for FlyQuest this series.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think Busio was not as flashy, I guess.
No, for
that's
sure.
Probably...
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't have a crazy Gragas cask, that like Whippo had, or a huge Renekton knocked JoJo off the Weaver's Wall, or inspired Lee Sin ulting a guy straight into the team. Didn't have that, but I thought he was very quietly playing some phenomenal League of Legends on Saturday.
That is one thing about our bot lane is their mid game and late game is actually pretty dang solid. Yeah. They really got to work on their lane phase.
Yeah, it's true. It's completely true. All right, let's talk about this upcoming weekend. Saturday, it's going to be Team Liquid Cloud9.
We got predictions?
Well, I mean, we're gonna do predictions. We have no graphic, because I don't think we thought about it, and we also definitely don't have because we don't know who we're gonna be playing on Sunday, right? But
exactly. So
I think we can just still talk about it. It's gonna be a huge series for sure. No matter what, I think. Team Liquid Cloud9. I am going to go against the grain. Maybe. I am going to take Liquid.
I don't think that's a hot take, if I'm being honest. You're totally fair on that.
I think they have some crazy momentum. I think Jan is playing out of his mind. And I think the rest of the team can make up for the flaws in the mid lane. I think APA is still very much the weak link. And, I mean, look, all you have to do is start banning the Ziggs if you're Cloud9. And the list of champs that APA can succeed on gets pretty short after that. But I just think Jan looks crazy. Core looks really good. I thought Impact has been playing well. Umti, I think, has stepped up. And I just don't think Cloud9 is quite there yet for me. They could really surprise me. But right now I've got Team Liquid heading to the finals as of 9:23 p.m. March 25th Eastern Time. Where are you guys at?
Mark it down.
Wow. No, I'm in agreement. I think TL has this, especially you mentioned the momentum. They've been the power of the lower bracket run is something that we have seen time and time again. Because especially it's the idea that you get more games in, you get to really refine how well you play, and then you're every step really matters there. So I think you're just inherently a bit more motivated if you are climbing through the ranks rather than suddenly being put there like Cloud9 is. And then, they just look really hot right now. And Cloud9 did not look really hot against us, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, Knox, where are you landing on these matters?
Oh man, I don't know. I think I don't know what I think. Okay, I'm gonna just commit to one side, and typically that side belongs to Cloud9. So I'll let y'all represent TL. I'll rep the Cloud9 side. I think we'll be playing Cloud9 again in the grand finals.
I'll take it.
Let's think about it this way. Cloud9 got reality checked hard, right?
Sure.
They're gonna drop down and they're gonna be like, okay, what the hell happened this past week? We cannot be letting that happen again. And
Yeah.
I know the guys on this team are hungry, right? All of them are veterans outside of like JoJo, who I would say is just like what's a super sophomore or whatever you want to call him, or a super junior, whatever. I don't know the terminology.
Like a red shirt or something?
Yeah, I get a red shirt. Somebody, because I don't think he's like a veteran yet, but he's not a rookie anymore either, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know the terminology for that. But my point is, like, everyone on that team is like very, very experienced, knows what they're doing. They're hungry for this win. They really want to get like back on the international stage. And I think in general, Team Liquid's style is just so loose and chaotic, which can work, right? And like over large series of games. Like, it's going to end up winding you in more wins than losses, in my opinion, which is cool. But I think in a scenario where you can prep for a team and really sit down and be like, okay, how do you handle this chaos? I think it can be countered. And I think Cloud9 has the coaching staff and the veterancy in their players to be able to handle that. So I'm gonna side on Cloud9 for the time being. But okay. I'm not 100% sold on them.
If you're siding on Cloud9, I mean, what's the series score going to be? I think that's the most interesting question then.
I think it's going to be a 3-2. I think
okay.
the way TL is playing is how that they've been described to be playing in scrims, which is just super fast paced, going to fight you at every objective, going to drop waves to do it. Like, even if we're not farming, it doesn't matter. I'm fighting you, which means I get map control, which means I get better tempo. Like, we're just going for it, right? But like, that's also going to be moments where you coin flip and you don't win that coin toss, right?
Yeah.
And so Cloud9 is good enough to be able to force like weighted coin tosses in their favor, and they're also going to be smart enough to like, hey, we're still farming our waves, so we can still be strong later on. I really think this is going to be any series that Team Liquid is in from now on is just going to be bloody and chaotic.
Yeah.
And I think as long as teams can be able to prep for that, they'll be okay. FlyQuest, last time we played them, wasn't prepped for that because every time they showed up on stage, they weren't playing like they were in scrims. They came on stage that time around, and they actually started playing like scrims, and FlyQuest was like, whoa, hey, this is not what we prepped for. You can't be doing that.
Yeah. That's not allowed. This is illegal.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Red.
Yeah. Cloud9 for the time being. That's my thoughts.
Okay, Cloud9 3-2 for Nox. Curly, you said Team Liquid, so where are you landing on?
I'm thinking 3-1.
Okay. 3-1 Team Liquid. All right. I mean, what's the justification here? I need some kind of...
something to build off of? All right. I mean, like, 3-1, obviously always the safest bet in a best of 5.
Right.
But I think it's just going to be like, there's going to be one game where the aggressiveness doesn't pan out in their favor.
Okay.
And where Cloud9 is able to just pull through. And I think it's going to be off the back of Berserker. Because I think he showed that he can, be him for a time as long as he doesn't get shut down.
Sure.
So if they're able to get another setup like the game 3 and then just actually hold on to it, they can, take a game off Team Liquid. But overall, I just think Team Liquid, they're really coming into form. They're gonna 3-1 it,
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a fair take. I am gonna say 3-2 Team Liquid. I think it's gonna be pretty close. And kind of like I did last week where I then adjusted it to like more of the percentage. I have this like a 55-45 for Team Liquid. I absolutely think that Cloud9 can win this series. I just right now, I think momentum is a very real thing. And I think that Team Liquid has just looked a lot better in their wins and in their losses than Cloud9 has. I think Cloud9 beat a pretty vulnerable 100 Thieves, and then Cloud9 got, and they got exposed over the weekend. So I just think Team Liquid's got a game plan. Team Liquid has momentum, and I think it's gonna matter. Yeah. So that brings us to Sunday. And obviously this is a difficult conversation because we kind of disagree on who's going to be playing FlyQuest.
Let me ask you guys really fast then. Who would you rather play?
I'd rather play Cloud9 because I know
Cloud9 for sure.
I'd rather play Cloud9 because I know that we can beat them in bad. And frankly, Team Liquid to me just has that momentum, that lower bracket buff right now. So.
Actually, you know what? Nah. Give me TL. I want TL. I want to shut them down again.
I thought you were about to do the nah, I'd win there, Curly. I thought that's what you were about to bust out. Here's what I want to do, actually. And I'm going to put it to you both. Curly, you said Team Liquid is going to win. Nox, you said Cloud9 is going to win. Let's flip it. Nox, I want you to argue why FlyQuest beats Team Liquid.
Okay.
And then I want Curly to argue why FlyQuest beats Cloud9. Because I think we all have FlyQuest winning no matter who we play, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm voting on the side of FlyQuest going into finals.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Curly, we already knew that. We knew that one. So
it's Downers voting for FlyQuest is when it matters. Yeah. Sandy and I voting for FlyQuest.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So wait, Nox, does this mean we actually have to vote against them one more time?
oh shit! You're right.
Crap.
We're jinxing them.
Oh, we have to. We got to do it.
Cloud9's making the run, baby. It's happening.
We got to do it one more time.
Oh my.
No, but I want this. Nox, you go. Why are we gonna beat Team Liquid on Sunday?
So, I'm going to say for the exact same reasons that I think Cloud9 in my scenario is going to be Team Liquid, right? And it's because we will have better prep and knowledge of how they're going to want to play the game because they're bringing this scrim style onto stage, right? In these actual games that count. And I really, really believe that if you watch and you analyze, like, hey, they're dropping waves here at these timers and they're pushing like jungle at this times and this areas. Like, you can plan around that stuff. It looks chaotic, and it is chaotic, but they're kind of consistent in the time frames that they do it, right? Because it's always on big objective timers. So if you can plan and prep for that, you can get people set up and ready, and you know, hey, they're going to make this move. And I think it's really, really easily counterable. Is it going to get scrappy and bloody? Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, Team Liquid's still coin flipping, right? And sometimes coin flips still go in their favor. But if you have the prep and the knowledge of what they're going to do, those coin flips are still weighted in your favor. And it's for that reason that I think FlyQuest can still, with prep and knowledge of Team Liquid, come out on top.
Okay, I like it. Curly, hit me with the why we beat Cloud9.
Well, we just saw 3 reasons why we beat Cloud9. Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3, baby. But like, if you want me to go a bit deep, it's just because our team, like I said last week, when you said it was very narrative based, I think our team, after having a rough series against Team Liquid, got really serious, had some harsh truths discussed with each other to make sure we were in our top form. And I firmly believe in our team's ability to make sure we're staying in that form, where it's like Cloud9, the back meter is all over the place. The him meter is all over the place. There has never been a consistent read on how this team is doing. So just the fact that we know we're staying on top, we just have shown ourselves to be better than Cloud9 at just about every turn this split, and that is not going to end on Sunday. That is going to continue, and we are going to lift that title.
Yeah. I'm gonna split the middle here. I'm gonna say no matter what team we play on Sunday, it's going to wind up being a 3-2. I think if it's Cloud9, they're going to learn. They're going to have learned a few things playing against us. So I think it's going to be closer. And I think, honestly, both games 1 and 3 could have ended in FlyQuest losses.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a huge gap. So I'm going to say 3-2 there. And then Team Liquid, we already saw a 3-2 between FlyQuest and TL. I think they'll run back the 3-2 again. I have FlyQuest winning either way. But 3-2 over the finals opponent. Here's one thing, though, that I want to talk about. Because I think we've delved into the potential matchups and everything a bit. We're going to MSI. Like, no
We're
matter
back,
what.
baby.
And, like, I just want to, like, dwell on this for 1 second. No matter what, FlyQuest is headed back to an international tournament for the first time since 2020 Worlds. And 2024 MSI, we're at least going to be playing G2. So that'll be very interesting. I don't want to talk about, like, expectations at MSI. We'll get to that eventually. But I just want to reassure us that, like, look, I think no matter what, even if Sunday does not go the way we want it to, and obviously we want them to win, I think we've already proved a ton by beating Team Liquid 3-2, by beating Cloud9 3-0, and by taking top 2 no matter what in these playoffs and qualifying for MSI. I think we have established that we are a top 2 team in LCS. There should be no doubt about that. When people are making their power rankings next split, if FlyQuest is not in your top 2, you're crazy. Like, you are actually certifiably insane if you are not putting them top 2. So
teams would have to be like acquiring Faker and Rookie and
like
Kobe all at the same time.
like Cloud9 better be importing Zeus and Chovy. And then TL better like bring like Rookie and like 369 over. Like just straight up.
Then you'll see us putting FlyQuest in third.
Yeah, then you'll see us going to third place. But that's all. I mean, do you guys have anything you want to say about like just the like to me it's a very momentous occasion to make it back to an international tournament after so long.
I think there's something in China, man. Because that's the last time we were there. It was also China.
Yeah,
I think China just likes FlyQuest. FlyQuest likes China. So every time we got a Chinese international happening, just expect to see FlyQuest there.
All right. I mean, I'm just very excited because, you know, now it's the same thing about like being at finals and fun and watching international events is fun. Is like now my team is there.
Yeah.
You know, and then my favorite player is there. I can't wait. Like, I'm really hoping that we get to see Bwipo versus 369 because I actually think that'll be a really fun matchup. Mm-hmm. If it works out that way. So I'm excited. You know, this
totally
will be the most invested I've been in any MSI ever.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was thinking about this. It's like normally like the season
we cover
ends,
other teams.
And we're like, all right, well, we're going to kind of it's not like we half-ass our coverage of MSI or Worlds or anything, but we're kind of like, yeah, I didn't really watch this game, you know, whatever. Now I'm going to be like the games are starting at 3 a.m. I will be awake. You know,
I've got my Red Bull. Yeah. I've got my coffee.
Yeah, it's coffee time, baby. Let's go. You know, we're waking up early. So yeah, it'll be an interesting time to cover. Love a good international tournament in Asia. Always a blast to try to pay attention.
Try and keep up.
My roommate will be going to work, and I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and my wife will be like asleep, and I'll be like, yeah, FlyQuest, let's go, you know. So we'll see how it is. All right, let's put a pin in FlyQuest LCS because it's time to talk about FlyQuest Challengers. Also,
the other finalist team,
this weekend, making it all the way. And taking down Team Liquid Challengers in a 3-1 series. And they will be going up against as we predicted last week on the show, Maryville University, who stormed through lower bracket, taking down Supernova 2-0, taking down Cincinnati Fear 2-1, getting revenge on Disguised in a 5-game banger series, 3-2.
Reverse sweep, by the way.
Reverse sweep, by the way. And then taking down Team Liquid Challengers 3-0. And they will be playing us on stage on Monday, next Monday night. We might as well make, I don't know when, I gotta see when that series is going to begin. It starts at 8 o'clock, which means I will not be able to watch all of it, unfortunately. But we might end up just making the show next week a bit of a watch party.
Well, I mean, Curly's still in LA at that point in time.
Curly's still in LA, so we might not even do a show. I mean, who knows what'll happen? Maybe Knox and I will just do like a watch party, on somewhere. Who knows when we'll do it? But
I may do a legit one in FlyQuest Discord, or I may, if not, no one's really interested, we can do one in ours.
Yeah, we'll figure this out.
We'll figure it out.
Announcement.
Something will happen.
This is the announcement of the announcement, as esports people like to do. But let's talk about NACL making it through 4-game series against Team Liquid Challengers. Knox, I know you were there for every part of it. I mean, just give me the take. There's some narratives that I do want to cover in the final series that I'll get to in a second, but I just want to hear from you first on the TL Challenger series.
I think that one was it felt pretty handily in our favor at pretty much all points in time, right? I think Quad has been playing out of his just freaking mind. Romer did not really stand up to him in any way that I felt was like an actual resistance. It felt like we really just had their number at pretty much all forms of the game. Outside of I forget what game we lost, but like
game 2.
That one, game 2. Thank you. That one just was we coin flipped some stuff, and it was just okay. Well, go next.
Game 3 was also a little tight.
I mean, I think at pretty much most points in the game, even though it was tight, I felt like we had tempo in pretty much all the areas that we wanted it to be. And so while TL was forcing good fights still, it generally seemed to me that kind of what my analogy of like weighted coin flips from earlier, like all the coin flips were like weighted in our favor. So I wasn't like super stressed.
Yeah. This was not like a series I was particularly concerned about off the face. I mean, coming into it, TL had, finished 6th in the regular season. I just feel like across the board, just on paper, all our players outmatch the guys on TL Challengers. Going into the Maryville series, is there anything for you that's like of concern that
you
say that? Well, no, I'm saying just like not necessarily from Maryville. I'm talking about like on the FlyQuest side that needs to be tightened up, like draft or play or things like that.
I think a lot of our general we get very hypey, I would say, right? Like it's very much like, okay, to the next objective. All right, shove this wave as quickly as possible. Like, got to get to this area of the map. Like we keep wanting to play very, very fast, and that's great. It's great in some sense, right? Because it really puts the opponent teams on like their back foot. But then there's times where it's because we're trying to rush things so quickly, is what it feels like to me, that we don't follow through on the basic fundamentals of how to properly set up and make sure everything's how we want it to be for fights or whatever it may be. And teams will punish us for on things like that, right? And so that's kind of what my main worry is, especially against Maryville, because they know how to punish that kind of stuff. They will absolutely find flanks, and they will set up how they want to set up, even if you're on the objective first. Or if they're on the objective first, they will absolutely set up proper walls to make sure you can't get in and make it very difficult to find a fight that you want to find. Things like that sort, right? So in some ways, I kind of want to see us slow down just a little bit, because I feel like we're rushing into a lot of things. So I'll probably leave it at that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Let's look into the Maryville series now. And the huge narrative, obviously, is usually Spirax
Hmm.
going in. This is the number one, number two team from the regular season. Usually in Spirax going up against their former club in FlyQuest Challengers. The narratives on this are just great. Um, yeah, Curly, I want to hear from you. This is just such an interesting matchup, I think, in seeing
Yeah.
usually in Spirax make it back to finals, NACL finals, versus their old team. To you, what does this say about these guys, about the FlyQuest program in general? What does this mean to you?
I mean, I think it just really shows the caliber of players that they are. Like they, with Maryville, were able to be technically tied with us for first. The only reason we got first is because we won our series against them in the regular season, and then they've met us in the finals, and they have been consistently at the top of their game the entire time. I think it just says that like they are truly skilled players that I wouldn't be surprised that if there's a chance that like I'll put it in the 10% chance that as teams restructure in the summer, they might be on the radar. But like if they keep this up throughout the season and show higher highs, like jumping way ahead to the end of the season,
Mm-hmm.
they could make their way to the LCS like next year, especially with the fact that Spirax did get his 1 day shot with us. And even though it didn't pan out well because that was just kind of a whole mess of a time,
Right.
um, like, they have it in them. And so I'm just really impressed with these players. And like, I really hope actually that grudge is kind of there because it'll make it a very fun series to watch, because that I think that means that both teams will be trying their like truly trying their best,
Yeah.
you know.
No, 100%.
So real fast, can I highlight the All Pro for Challengers to split?
No, please go ahead.
So and I'm mainly doing it for Maryville and FlyQuest, right? Since these are the two teams in finals. But so first team All Pro from FlyQuest, you had Surdy top lane, you had Quad in the mid lane, and then you had Chime first team All Pro. Second team All Pro, you had Sajed, and then
Yeah.
third team All Pro, you had Shaden, right? So all FlyQuest is an All Pro. Maryville, you have third team All Pro Niles and third team All Pro Zico. Second team All Pro, you had Spirax and Scary Jerry, and then first team All Pro, you had Yuji. So all three or all five of Maryville University's team were also in the All Pro as well. This is going to be a stacked matchup, and
Yeah,
it's just very, very
100%.
exciting to see.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be really good. Huge matchup for sure. Really great chance for our guys to prove themselves. This is looking ahead a little bit. I will say, I don't know about Sajed necessarily, but you could make an argument that like there's 3 to 5 players on this team that could be potential upgrades for LCS players. Um, so
I'll go with four.
yeah,
I don't think that is.
I think
but yeah,
I think four is safe, but like, which is a mild concern because it's like, hey, what if we wind up getting this whole team just like absolutely blasted and ripped apart by buyouts, which like is ultimately what I want, right? I don't want these guys just sitting in challengers forever.
Great problem to have.
It's a great problem to have, right? Um, but like, there's some teams in the LCS who could really use a player like Surdy, who could really use a player like Shaden. Chime is a proven LCS caliber player. Quad, I think, has really shown that he could do something for the right team. So this might be, and this is why I just want to encourage everyone about this. Monday night is probably your last chance to see this team play. I've not heard anything. This is not a leak. I would really be shocked if no one, if not a single player from this team, gets bought out in the midseason. I think there's some legitimate talent that LCS teams could be picking up from this team. So Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, is your last potential chance to see this team play. Let's get some predictions on the board. We already predicted the FlyQuest victory on Sunday for LCS. Monday night, it was a 2-1 for FlyQuest back in week 6, I believe it was, week 6 over Maryville. I'm running it back. I'm going to say, like I said, a 3-2 banger for LCS FlyQuest. I'm saying a 3-2 banger for FlyQuest over Maryville on Monday night. Curly's getting a full 5 games 2 days in a row. That's what
I'm going to be deceased on my plane home. I'm going to be like...
Can't wait. I can't wait to see you the next Monday and ask you how it was. Curly, I'm going to ask you next for your prediction. Then Knox, I want you to finish us off.
Now, I'm also predicting the 3-2. I think these teams are really just locked in against each other, and it's going to be real good, real fun 5-game series, but we're going to pull through in the end.
Perfect. Knox, as the resident NACL expert, where do you see this series ending?
I think this is the first time that the three of us will be in unanimous agreement about a 3-2 a victory.
All right.
I'm also going to go with a 3-2 victory for FlyQuest Challengers. It's going the distance, but I believe in the guys to clutch it out.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I love it. All right, Knox, one more question then, since we're all in agreement, and just solely for you. Who wins player of the series for FlyQuest? Who's going to carry?
Ooh. I think it's Quad.
Yeah,
I think Quad has
like
just been
unbelievably
good.
I think he's been brilliant. Who do you think... Okay, I got one more question then. One player from FlyQuest Challengers gets picked up. Who's that player?
Oh,
do you think it's Quad?
Man.
I don't know. I think it's... In my mind, it's probably Surdy.
It's either the mid lane or it's the top lane. But it's the only two options.
Yeah.
I think. I don't think support's getting swapped around anywhere in the LCS, even though it probably should be done.
Yeah. I
think there's top lane options and I think there's mid lane options. I'm going to lean more on. I think I'm in agreement with you. I think it's going to be Surdy has the higher likelihood of getting picked up, but I'm not shying away from the possibility of Quad getting picked up either.
Okay. Sure. It's very fair.
That would be a pretty quick transition into LCS if he did get picked up.
I mean, he's been.
I mean, he used to play in LCK, so it's not like he.
That's true.
Does not have professional experience. This
That's
is
true.
This is a former pro player, and frankly, is this the play? He came out of retirement to come play in NACL. And if it's the play one split in NACL, smurf on some kids for a season, and then get picked up by an LCS team angle, that's a great angle, right? You warm up,
100%.
You warm
and then we
up
can have
on some scrubs in NACL, and then you go LCS. That's a great career move.
And then the amount of Quad and Quid memes we can have all summer long.
Yeah, Quad versus Quid. I can't wait for that banger matchup. That'll be good. Okay, so we've all got 3-2 FlyQuest Challengers, and we've got 3-2 FlyQuest. Well, no, I have 3-2 FlyQuest over whoever wins. But we all have FlyQuest winning both series, which almost guarantees that it probably won't happen. But, we'll see what happens. Brah. All right. I believe that is mercifully everything we've got to talk about. Big matchups. Monday night, FlyQuest Challengers. Sunday afternoon, weird time, as I pull up the schedule. I believe... Oh, they're just starting the broadcast early. It's 4 o'clock Eastern for both losers finals and winners finals on Saturday and Sunday. FlyQuest plays the winner of Cloud9 Team Liquid on Sunday. Cloud9 Team Liquid, by the way, determines the second NA representative at MSI. So very important matchup to see who we will be likely scrimming against for the next few weeks until MSI begins. So, hey, this matchup is just as important for scrimming reasons as it is final matchup weekends. I think that is all we have to cover. Do you guys have any final topics before we close out the night?
I'm gonna make a plea to FlyQuest. Bring the challengers team to China with you. Get them some practice against Chinese teams. Develop them.
I like it.
I know that's expensive as hell, but I think it'd be sick to have them there. Get some training, and then if FlyQuest wants to practice some secret strat stuff, they can do it still.
Spicy, but I like it. All right. I believe that's everything now. So on that note,
I think actually.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is just like, I don't know if you guys have seen on Twitter today, but FlyQuest has been dropping so many partnerships with like watch parties and all that stuff. No, like because like they're partnering with D. Shynock in New York City for that watch party. I want to say it's 2 universities I've seen now have been like, hey, we're doing a watch party like courtesy of FlyQuest. They've got their own like activation at Jameson's Pub in Culver City, California, for anyone watching from Culver City, California. Like they are getting themselves out there. So making it really good job of getting their name out there. And this is the kind of stuff I talked about like at the end of last season where it's like, get your hands in collegiate, get yourself out there, make people know about you.
I think it's really good. Hey, at the end of the day, winning is still the best way to build a fandom. Unironically. I hate to say it, but it is true. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into yet another banger episode of Flight Check. Grand Finals this weekend. Do not miss it. Sunday, 4 o'clock, we'll play either Cloud9 or TL. And then Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, FlyQuest Challengers takes on Maryville University for the NACL Finals. Crazy, crazy weekend coming up. And you're going to want to follow us on Twitter for all of our reactions and thoughts to the games. You can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Nox at NoxWar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place in there. And if you missed any part of this episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're watching that, you made it all the way to the end, and you're like, dang, would have loved to catch the show live. We broadcast the episode usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. All right, Nox, any final shout-outs from you before we wrap up?
I got 2. I don't know what exactly this is going to be, but Running the Rift has got an announcement regarding NACL qualifiers and collegiate programs coming up later this week, which could be really good for the development of North American League of Legends. So keep an eye out on that. And then also keep an eye out on our Twitter and YouTube, because I filmed a little skit for some receipts that I've had in the past.
Oh boy.
And that should be coming out later this week before the FlyQuest match on Sunday. So keep an eye out for that.
Yikers. That'll be interesting for sure. Curly, how about you? Any shout outs?
I'm going to shout out to everyone who partook in the 03 calamity that was ARAM Clash with Nox and I this weekend. It was a wonderfully terrible time as Victor and Karma made our nights terrible. Shout out to everyone that's going to be making this trip to LA very exciting. There's too many people to list out. So just everyone that I'm going to be meeting for the first time and like making that trip memorable. You guys are awesome. And like I'll mention it on Twitter. And then last one, shout out to my 2 favorite anime right now. This is an anime promo. Frieren Beyond Journey's End and Apothecary Diaries.
Oh,
like
both
really good. If you haven't watched them, you should. And specifically, I think you should watch the Frieren dub. It is really well done. That is it. Thank you.
Perfect. My shout out is going to be to baseball season. The Nationals are back March 28th. They've got their first home game April 1st, which is next Monday, which might actually work out because next Monday, we might not do a show, so I might actually be able to go to the opening day.
Sandy at opening day.
Me and opening day. Name a more iconic duo. All right, we'll be back either next week or the week after, discussing playoffs, discussing finals weekend, all of that. But for now, I'll just say stay safe out there. Bite your teeth. Don't forget to hit the head on the nail. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.